Hello, and welcome to a conversation that's not often had in the open, yet one that's crucial. I'm here, a bit older and hopefully wiser, to talk about a journey that's been both challenging and transformative. It's about an addiction, not often spoken about, but prevalent in silence, my long battle with masturbation. You see, funny thing about this video is that I believe only a small fraction of you watching will see it through to the end. And that's telling, because often, the ones who switch off are the ones who might need to hear this the most. If I were like most content creators in this niche, I'd probably offer you quick fixes or sensationalized recounts. But that's not why I'm here. This isn't just another video to scroll past. It's an invitation to pause and reflect. My journey with this addiction wasn't just about overcoming a habit. It was about understanding the deeper layers of my being, the silent whispers of my psyche that I had long ignored. And like the meditation practices that strengthen our attention span and focus, this story I'm about to share is my exercise for the soul, for mine, and perhaps for yours too. So I ask you, don't just listen passively. Engage with me, reflect with me, maybe even challenge me. Put aside the distractions, the urge to move on to the next tab, the next video. Be here with me in this moment for the next few minutes. I'll share with you a moment that changed everything for me. It was not dramatic, but in its simplicity lay its power. And my hope is that by the end of our time together, you'll have done a few bicep curls for your soul, just as I have done in sharing this with you. In my youth, the journey into what would become a challenging addiction began innocently enough, mirroring the natural curiosity that many experience during adolescence. It was a time of discovery and exploration, a period where the body and mind undergo significant changes, and new impulses come to the fore. Masturbation in those early days was a part of this exploration, a seemingly harmless act driven by innate curiosity. As I navigated the complex terrain of teenage life, this once sporadic habit slowly started to carve a more permanent place in my routine. Initially, it was just another part of growing up, a way to understand and connect with my changing body. But over time, the frequency of these private moments began to increase. It was no longer just about curiosity. It had become a go-to response to various emotional states: stress, loneliness, boredom, even joy. This gradual escalation didn't raise any alarms in my mind. In fact, I perceived it as a normal aspect of teenage life. The message from society, media, and peers seemed to echo this belief. It was often portrayed or discussed as a standard part of growing up, a phase that everyone goes through. This external validation provided a convenient justification for my behavior, reinforcing my belief that there was nothing unusual or harmful about it. But as I moved further into my teenage years and later into young adulthood, I started to notice a subtle shift. What began as a natural exploration had started to take up more mental and emotional space. It had become more than just a physical act. It was a psychological escape, a way to momentarily disconnect from reality and its challenges. The more I engaged in it, the more I seemed to need it, not realizing that I was slowly reinforcing a cycle that was becoming harder to break. Looking back, I see how these early days were critical in setting the stage for what would later become a more serious issue. The slow progression from an occasional act to a regular habit, the justifications, and the lack of awareness about its potential impact. All these factors contributed to the development of an addiction. It's a realization that came much later, but one that I wish had dawned on me earlier. The importance of understanding and recognizing these early signs cannot be overstated, especially for young individuals who might find themselves on a similar path. As time passed, what was initially an act of curiosity became a deeply ingrained habit, almost ritualistic in nature. The transition was so gradual that it seamlessly integrated into my daily life, unnoticed and unchallenged. It became my secret method for instant gratification, a quick fix to any emotional discomfort. This reliance didn't seem problematic at the time. After all, it was a private matter, and it felt like it was under my control. However, this illusion of control was just that, an illusion. The habit that I once thought I commanded began to command me. I found myself planning my day around it, prioritizing it over social interactions, hobbies, and even responsibilities. The realization that it had become a central part of my existence was slow to dawn on me. I was in denial, attributing my increasing dependency to stress, loneliness, or just a phase that I was going through. This denial was bolstered by the fact that masturbation, as a topic, was shrouded in taboo and seldom discussed openly. There were no conversations about the potential addictive nature of it or its psychological impacts. This lack of open dialogue and education around the subject left me ill-equipped to recognize the signs of addiction and to understand its consequences. As I reflect on those years, I see a pattern of initial justifications that gradually morphed into a deep-seated denial. I told myself that it was normal, that everyone did it, and that it was my way of coping with life's stresses. But the truth was, I was using it to escape from reality, from challenges, from emotions that I didn't want to face. It's only with the benefit of hindsight and a journey towards self-awareness that I've come to understand the true nature of my behavior. What started as a harmless exploration had turned into a coping mechanism, a means of avoidance, and ultimately, an addiction that took a significant toll on my mental, emotional, and even physical well-being. This part of my story, these early days, is crucial for anyone who might be walking a similar path. It serves as a reminder of the importance of self-awareness, the need for open conversations about our behaviors, and the understanding that sometimes what seems harmless can escalate into something much more serious if left unchecked. It highlights the need for education, not just about the act itself, but about its potential to become addictive, and the importance of developing healthy coping mechanisms for life's challenges. This pattern of behavior, once established, began to cast a shadow over various aspects of my life. What I hadn't realized was the subtle way it started to affect my relationships and my ability to form meaningful connections. I was often preoccupied, my thoughts consumed by the next opportunity to indulge in my habit. This preoccupation created a barrier, an invisible wall that separated me from others. I began to withdraw, preferring the solitary comfort of my addiction over the company of friends and family. My social life dwindled, and so did my ability to connect with others on a deeper level. As I moved into adulthood, the consequences of this addiction became more apparent. My professional life started to suffer. I found it increasingly difficult to focus on tasks, to stay motivated, and to pursue my goals with the same vigor I once had. My productivity declined, and with it, my self-esteem. I was caught in a vicious cycle. The more I indulged in my habit, the more I felt the need to escape from the reality of my stagnating life. And the more I escaped, the more my life stagnated. Looking back, I can see how my justifications and denial played a significant role in perpetuating this cycle. I had convinced myself that my habit had no bearing on my life's trajectory. I thought I could compartmentalize it, keep it separate from my real life. But the truth was, it was impacting every facet of my existence. It was not just a physical act. It had become a mental and emotional crutch that I leaned on far too heavily. It was in these moments of realization that I began to understand the true cost of my addiction. It wasn't just about the time spent or the immediate gratification. It was about the lost opportunities, the weakened relationships, and the diminished sense of self-worth. This habit, which I once thought harmless and private, was in fact a chain that bound me to a cycle of unfulfillment and regret. The journey towards overcoming this addiction began with acknowledging these truths. It required me to look inward, to confront the uncomfortable realities of my behavior and its consequences. I had to learn to differentiate between healthy sexual expression and addictive behavior. This distinction was crucial in understanding my actions and in charting a path towards change. This part of my story, the realization and acknowledgement of the problem, marks the first step towards recovery. It's a step that requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to seek help when needed. It's a reminder that breaking free from any form of addiction starts with a willingness to confront it head-on, to understand its roots, and to work tirelessly towards regaining control over one's life. As I embarked on the journey of recovery, I encountered both challenges and revelations. It was a path marked by introspection and learning. I realized that overcoming this addiction was not just about stopping a behavior, but about understanding the underlying reasons that drove me to it. It involved addressing deeper emotional needs and learning healthier ways to cope with life's challenges. One of the first steps in my recovery was to break the cycle of isolation that my addiction had led me into. I started reconnecting with family and friends, and in doing so, I rediscovered the joy and fulfillment that comes from genuine human connections. This process was not easy. It required me to be vulnerable, to admit my struggles, and to ask for support. But this vulnerability was a powerful tool. It helped me rebuild relationships that I had neglected and form new ones based on honesty and mutual understanding. Another crucial aspect of my recovery was professional help. Seeking guidance from therapists and counselors provided me with the tools and strategies needed to understand and overcome my addictive behaviors. They helped me see that my addiction was a symptom of underlying issues that needed addressing. Issues like low self-esteem, anxiety, and the need for escapism. This journey also involved developing new hobbies and interests, activities that filled the void left by the addiction. I discovered the joy of outdoor activities, the fulfillment in creative expression, and the peace found in mindfulness practices like meditation and yoga. These activities not only provided a healthy outlet for my energy, but also helped me to reconnect with myself, to understand who I was beyond my addiction. The road to recovery also meant reevaluating my relationship with sexuality. I had to learn to distinguish between a healthy expression of sexuality and compulsive behavior, driven by emotional voids. This understanding was vital in reshaping my perceptions and behavior. Looking back, the journey from the grip of addiction to a place of control and understanding has been transformative. It was a path fraught with challenges, but each step forward was a step towards a more fulfilling life. This experience has taught me the value of self-awareness, the power of vulnerability, and the importance of seeking help when needed. It's a journey that I share not just as a cautionary tale, but as a story of hope and resilience. To anyone who finds themselves struggling with a similar addiction, know that change is possible. It requires honesty, effort, and support. But the path to recovery can lead to a life of greater joy, fulfillment, and self-understanding. This journey of mine is a testament to the fact that we have the power to change our narratives, to break free from the chains that bind us, and to live a life not defined by our past behaviors, but shaped by our present choices and future aspirations. As I progressed on this path of recovery and self-discovery, I came to understand the importance of patience and perseverance. Overcoming addiction, particularly one that had been a part of my life for so long, was not an overnight process. It required sustained effort and a commitment to change, even in the face of setbacks. There were moments of relapse, times when old habits resurfaced, testing my resolve. But each of these moments was an opportunity to learn, to understand what triggered the relapse, and how to better cope in the future. I also learned the value of forgiveness, especially self-forgiveness. For years, I had harbored guilt and shame about my addiction, emotions that only served to perpetuate the cycle. Learning to forgive myself, to accept that my past actions were not a reflection of my worth, was a crucial step towards healing. It allowed me to move forward, to focus on the present and the future, rather than being anchored to the past. Another key element in my journey was learning to channel my energy and focus into positive and constructive pursuits. Whether it was through physical activities, creative endeavors, or community involvement, redirecting my focus helped me to not only distract myself from urges, but also to build a sense of accomplishment and self-worth. These pursuits brought a sense of purpose and fulfillment that my addiction had never provided. Throughout this journey, I also realized the power of sharing my story. In speaking openly about my struggles, I found that I was not alone. Many others had faced similar battles, and hearing their stories of struggle and triumph was both comforting and empowering. This sense of community, of shared experience, was incredibly healing. It reminded me that while our journeys are personal, the challenges we face are universal, and there is strength in unity and openness. Now, looking back, I see a life reshaped by the experience of overcoming addiction. It's a life marked not by what I've lost, but by what I've gained: resilience, self-awareness, deeper connections with others, and a renewed sense of purpose. This journey has taught me that our greatest challenges can become our most powerful teachers, and that in the face of adversity, there is always an opportunity for growth and transformation. Now looking back, I see a life reshaped by the experience of overcoming addiction. It's a life marked not by what I've lost, but by what I've gained: resilience, self-awareness, deeper connections with others, and a renewed sense of purpose. This journey has taught me that our greatest challenges can become our most powerful teachers, and that in the face of adversity, there is always an opportunity for growth and transformation. To those who are still in the midst of their struggle, my message is one of hope and encouragement. The path to recovery may be challenging, but it is also immensely rewarding. Each step you take towards overcoming addiction is a step towards a richer, more fulfilling life. Remember, it's never too late to seek help, to make a change, and to start a new chapter. Your journey of recovery is not just about leaving a habit behind. It's about discovering who you can be without it.